Hi, Paul Hefty here with the Triangle O football system. I want to talk about offensive movements. We're talking resets, motions, and team shifts. The important thing is know why you do it, what you're doing, and how it works. So we're going to go over that. First off, coaching point. You can do this from a no huddle, which I've done, or you can use it also from a bunch huddle or both combination of both. Why we're doing this, the 5 reasons from research by X&O Labs. Is 1, gain a mismatch, 2, gain leverage, 3, gain numbers advantage, 4, you can identify coverages, and then last, promote what they call a toe-to-heel mentality to the defense. Last, Penn State offensive coordinator Andy Kotelnicki does a ton of movements, and the main thing he talked about is you must script and rehearse those movements with the plays in practice to use them effectively in the game. Let's take a look. Okay, first looking at resets and motions in the system, a couple key points. If we're doing resets, that movement player will go ahead and reset in his final formation and we'll finish the cadence. If we do that, the signal will be before the formation signal saying we're resetting to it. If we're doing motions where the cadence is going on while the movement is happening, now we will signal it after the final formation saying we're motioning from. The types of movements that impact defenses the most, again, according to X&O Labs, number 1 is H-back moving across, which we call drive or drive flex. Then in returning back and forth, which we call steer. Your A receiver doing that fast or jet-like motion, we call it fly. Then we can add that to across and return. And then last, your back going back and forth, which we call sin and bounce. Again, you're not going to use all of these, but you can see the system is set up for you to pick what works best with your people and with your system. So next we want to look at movement mechanics, and there's 3 ways to execute. You pick what works best for you. Number 1, I prefer a look and reset, where we'll go ahead and have the player motion across to the final formation, reset quickly, and we run the play. So again, the player here needs to reset to the formation call. The supersonic motion or traditional method is the player will motion from the formation with the call. And last, we can use a double cadence, what we call a freeze tempo. And now you can go ahead, resets, motions to or from, whichever you pick, and do shifts within that. Key point with the communication process for the quarterback, and we'll show this with each of them, with the resets and the motions, quarterback will call the play, then he will set the team, start that motion person or reset person in movement, and then finish the cadence with ready, go. When we do team shifts, quarterback again will call the play first, then he will actually shift and use a fist shifting cross in front of the body to start the movement, and then we go set the team, ready, go. When we use motions and shifts, again, call the play, then he's going to go ahead and start that motion. Then we will go ahead and call the shift, again with the signal, fist shifting, and again, full cadence, set, ready, go. Last, we can do shifts to motion, and that's where the quarterback calls the play, again, shifts with the signal, shifting. Now we set everyone, we start the motion movement, and finish the cadence with ready, go. So some examples of the back with the resets and motions. Key teaching point here, these signals are two-handed. Both hands will be going here. And then again, if it's a reset, he'll do that before the formation call. And if it's motions, it's after the formation and play call. So again, we can flip it. We can do the back out. In the upper right, we can do what we call fly motion, which is traditionally called jet. Down to the bottom, then we can do sin, where we start empty, come back in, and we can bounce back and forth, start in the backfield, out and back. And then last, we can do orbit, where we go over and behind the quarterback and across. Key point here again, quarterback calls the play. Then with these, he would set the team, start that person and move with the movement, and then finish the cadence with ready, go. Again, you're not going to use all of these, but you pick what works best for you. Next is H-back, resets emotions. Again, these will be two-handed signals. You can see here now we'll use in the upper left where we can drive across and we can drive all the way, or we stop like we're setting up in the box, but then go out to a flex. To the right, we can start in a flex and glide back into that wing or box position. Bottom left, where we do the return, we call that steer. And then last, we can go into a sniffer. Last is the A receiver, which would be your slot. Key teaching point here, we're going to use one-handed signals now, and we also want that A slot receiver to start all of their motions as if he's doing fly or jet motion, fast motion to the quarterback. So you can see here in the upper left, we start with that fly motion, but then we can also do a fly turn in the green. In the right, upper right, we can do the return where we fake it, come across and return. Bottom left, we can continue it all the way across. And then what I really like is we're going to start wide with the Z in there where they're reversed, and we'll go ahead and glide into a stack alignment. And then last, we can do the A orbit over and behind, and we can do again in the backfield and motion him out to a slot alignment. All right, number one shift we get into, which I really like, and it's simple but is impactful, is simply go from a squeeze alignment to our wide set or vice versa, wide to a squeeze. Why we're doing this, it forces the defense to adjust really fast, and it's really simple. So you can do this. I've done this at the 9th grade level with a lot of success. Last, how we do this is we simply, quarterback gets everybody set in that pre-alignment. As you see in the diagram below, we're in a compressed or squeeze. Then he says shift, and we'll go ahead and shift to that wide alignment. You do have the ability to tell them to stay if you see it's something you want to stay in your pre-alignment. Once you get that in, then we can add a motion with a shift. So we just call this a team shake. So you're simply going to do any of your formations and then motion it side to side in a shaking motion. So we're chunking two movements together. You can see in the bottom left here now, we're going to go ahead and use that squeeze alignment, but we're shaking. It's a shake a duo right. So the mechanics would be here. Quarterback calls out the play. He's going to go ahead and have the A receiver, in this case, do his return motion. Once he gets back to his original spot, then he would say shift, and you shift to your wide alignment. If you want to do this with the H-back, which again is really impactful, you simply take your signal again, shaking, but you put your opposite hand on your wrist, what we call a heavy shake, and now that's the H-back doing the return motion. Number 3, and something I used at the college level, it's really easy and it's fun. You can use it again. I've done it at the 9th grade level. We call this Aussie opposite, where we're simply going to use a shift from anything opposite of the final formation call, and we just use these countries opposite side of the world. We'll also show you how you can add motion with that then too. So first here with Aussie opposite, the rules are simple. The Z and the X that are on the line of scrimmage, if they're wide, they start tight. If they would be tight or closed, they would start wide, opposite. The A and the H, their rule now is they are going to go the opposite side of their alignment. And then the B, if he's in the backfield, he will go ahead and go towards the call, but go empty, and vice versa. If he's empty, he would be in the backfield. Real simple here, we line up in that set, and you can see here's an Aussie trio right, with the signal being the forearms crossed in front, up high, upward. Really simple now, we get this heavy formation to the left, quarterback says shift, and we turn into our trio right, where we have a 3x1 now to the opposite side. Again, you can freeze this and run plays, and usually you just have 3 plays that the players know you'll use in a freeze situation or stay. If you start using the Aussie opposite quite a bit, you can add now motion to it. Simply Aussie shake, we're going to take that signal of the forearms crossed upward and just shake them side to side. This will tell now the A receiver will stay in his opposite alignment, but then after we shift, he will motion across to the final formation. So you can see here in the bottom, we're simply going Aussie shake, or we're going to go to a trio right. So the A would stay, everybody shifts, and then the A motions across. Last, similar to Aussie opposite, we can do what's called a Tahiti trade. Now we're going to just line up in a 3x1 bunch tray set away from the final formation, and we use Tahiti as the cue word. Signal now is forearms cross but downward in front. So again, Tahiti trade means tray away. If you look at the bottom left diagram, we've gone Tahiti with the signal, in verbal with trio right. So the Z, the A, and the X would line up away from the directional call. The H-back now lines up as a traditional tight end on the line of scrimmage towards the call. Once we say shift, now we're going to go ahead and everybody moves into our trio right wide formation. Set, ready, go is the cadence. Last, like Aussie opposite, we can add motion. So Tahiti shake would be the forearms crossed downward, but shaking side to side. It's going to tell that A slot receiver to stay after the shift and then motion across. If we want to do it with the H-back, now it's Tahiti slam. Signal again is forearms crossed downward but moving up and down. H now would move over opposite and then motion, drive motion across to the final formation. You can see now we've got multiple ways to use resets, motion, shifts, and combine them together. You pick what works best for you. Again, you can do it from a no huddle or from a bunch huddle or a combination of both. The key here is to have a purpose to what you're doing and make sure it's something that your players and you as your OC and play caller can process easily and efficiently. Thanks.